Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Soka Global Citizen Award ceremony.
Yay.
Where we will honor this year's recipient of the award. My name is Catherine King, and I'm the Executive Vice President of University Community. The Soka Global Citizen Award recognizes an individual for their efforts that embody the essential elements of global citizenship, as outlined by our university founder, Daisaku Ikeda, at his 1996 address at Teachers College, Columbia University. These three elements are as follows: the wisdom to perceive the interconnectedness of all life and living, the courage not to fear or deny difference, but to respect and strive to understand people of different cultures and to grow from encounters with them, the compassion to maintain an imaginative empathy that reaches beyond one's immediate surroundings and extends to those suffering in distant places. The award carries a $25,000 stipend to support the recipient's ongoing work. We are honored to have Dr. Mirian Vilela as this year's recipient of the Soka Global Citizen Award. Dr. Vilela is the Executive Director of the Earth Charter International Secretariat and the Center for Education for Sustainable Development at the University for Peace. She coordinates the UNESCO Chair on Education for Sustainable Development with the Earth Charter. She began championing sustainable development and education for global citizenship in the 1990s when she joined the Earth Charter Initiative. Her expertise, which lies at the intersection of sustainability, education, and global diplomacy, has also shaped global policy. Dr. Vilela holds a PhD in education from LaSalle University and a master's degree in public administration from the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, where she distinguished herself as an Edward Mason Fellow. Combining academic rigor with engaged practice, Dr. Vilela has led and facilitated countless international workshops, courses, and seminars on the values and principles of sustainability. Born in Brazil, Dr. Vilela's global perspective and multicultural competencies have informed her work for a more sustainable planet. Throughout her career, she has embodied the spirit of global citizenship and inspired many others to join her in building a more just, peaceful, and sustainable future. On behalf of Soka University of America, we extend a warm welcome to Dr. Mirian Vilela. We are also very honored to welcome Michael Bracken, Chair of the Earth Charter International Board, to SOA today. Thank you, Mr. Bracken, for traveling so far to be with us for this special occasion. We are excited to announce that SOA and Earth Charter International will enter into a memorandum of understanding for future collaboration. At this time, I would like to ask President Fiesel to come forward for the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding and the presentation of the Soka Global Citizen Award.
Good afternoon. I'm overjoyed to be able to sign an MOU today between Soka University of America and the Earth Charter International. And I am honored to present the Soka Global Citizen Award to Mirian Vilela, the Executive Director of the Earth Charter International Secretariat. I first met Mirian in 2016 when she attended the first World Summit of Educators here on our SUA campus. This was 20 years after our founder Daisaku Ikeda's speech at Columbia University, where he shared his hopes that someday such a conference would be held. This last April, I attended the amazing Earth Charter International Conference in Florida, where I was able to see Mirian again, and I was able to meet Michael Bracken, the chair of the Earth Charter International Board. I extend my warmest welcome to SUA to both of you. Welcome.
Thank you.
As you know, Soka University of America opened its doors in 2001 at the beginning of the new century. The mission of SUA is to foster a steady stream of global citizens committed to living a contributive life. Of the 17 goals of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 4 is quality education, and Target 4.7 specifically calls for fostering global citizenship by 2030 through global citizenship education. By establishing SUA in 2001, Mr. Ikeda and SUA were forerunners championing global citizenship education in the world. In Mr. Ikeda's framework of global citizenship education, there are 4 areas of focus: peace education, human rights education, sustainability education, and inequality and development education, and examining the intersection among these areas. The 3 previous recipients of our Global Citizen Award have been champions of progress in these areas. These recipients include Ambassador Anwaral Chowdhury, Ambassador Andrew Young, and Wanjita Matai. Mirian Vilela, this year's recipient, has been a global champion of sustainability and education. One of the core principles of SUA is to foster leaders for the creative coexistence of nature and humanity. Dr. Vilela's entire career is a role model for achieving this core principle, and we are honored she has agreed to serve as this year's Soka Global Citizen Award recipient. I am also especially happy today that SUA and Earth Charter International will sign our Memorandum of Understanding, solidifying our future collaboration together. I look forward to deepening the relationship between our institutions as we both work to fulfill our missions and visions, and in doing so, contribute to the well-being of humanity and our planet. At this time, I would like to call Dr. Vilela forward to sign the MOU and to receive the Global Citizen Award. The MOU we're signing today has 3 initial areas of collaboration. The first one is that Earth Charter International will provide online sustainability courses for selected staff, faculty, and alumni. The second one is Earth Charter International will provide online sustainability courses for selected students. And the third area is that Earth Charter International will welcome one of our learning clusters this January to Costa Rica, where Earth Charter International is located. So I think this is very exciting for our community, and I'll sign the document first and ask Dr. Vilela to sign it after. Now I'd like to present the Soka Global Citizen Award. Soka Global Citizen Award presented to Mirian Vilela for her decades of championing sustainable development and education for global citizenship, for her compassionate leadership as the Executive Director of the Earth Charter International Secretariat and the Center for Education for Sustainable Development at the University for Peace in Costa Rica, coordinator of the UNESCO Chair on Education for Sustainable Development with the Earth Charter, and contributor to the UNESCO Expert Reference Group for the Decade of Education for Sustainable Development, and for her fearless commitment to peace and protecting our planet to embody wisdom, courage, and compassion. Mirian Vilela is awarded SUA's 2024 Soka Global Citizen Award. September 5th, 2024, Edward M. Fiesel, President. So now please join me in welcoming Dr. Vilela to the podium to share her remarks for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ed. What an honor. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a gift to be back here to this beautiful campus. I feel very honored and happy. And I continue to learn so much from each one of you. Thank you for having me here. So I really want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Soka University of America for granting me this award. Of course, I feel very happy and emotional, which I receive with great honor and with an increased sense of responsibility to continue this journey that I have started many years ago. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to be here on your beautiful campus for this special recognition. One of the things that I really enjoy the most in my life is to connect with people from different cultures. I have had the opportunity of doing that since I was 16 years old, when I first left Brazil in the middle of the 80s. I just have this unique curiosity. It's a never-ending curiosity to listen and learn from people from different contexts and just different spheres of action. So over the past nearly 3 decades, I have had the opportunity to engage with many people or organizations and actually organized various kinds of cultural dialogue or intercultural dialogues around the theme of global ethics, values, and sustainability, bringing together people from different areas of knowledge. And for me, I feel a unique energy that emerges when such interactions occur through a dialogue, a multicultural and multi-sectoral dialogue. It's really something that keeps me motivated. So thank you for the opportunity of being here and on your campus, and especially in this very special room here that's called Dialogue for Peace Room. It's very much linked to my life journey, Dialogue for Peace. So today is a symbolic day actually in Brazil, the 5th of September. The 5th of September is a day that we celebrate the Amazon Day. It is a special day created to celebrate and raise awareness about the vital importance of the Amazon forest. In Amazon in Brazil, it's not only the forest, it's the Amazon state, so the Amazon forest, the Amazon state, and the Amazon River. It's a good occasion for us to highlight this forest's unparalleled biodiversity, its critical role for the world in terms of regulating climate, but also the need for us to understand why and how we need to protect its ecosystems and indigenous cultures that live around the Amazon. So I want to honor that day in Brazil, where I come from. And in doing so, I want to bring to this room the image from the view from the Soka Amazon Institute, which shows the confluence of 2 rivers that together form the Amazon River. After dancing through 10 kilometers together. So after dancing through 10K together, they actually merge into the Amazon River. I think that's quite symbolic. And for me, it's just an image to bring to this room on the beauty of our globe, our Earth, our planet, and also the linkages with the significance of this place, also with the Soka Amazon Institute. Now, let me turn to my work journey, if I may. This work achievement with the Earth Charter, really has led us here today, was by no means accomplished alone. On the contrary, I have been supported throughout this journey by many valuable advisors, youth, thought leaders, really thought leaders I have had the privilege of working with, and a dedicated team that is working, small dedicated team working in Costa Rica, but also partner organizations, big and small, from around the world that have contributed immensely to the work we have been doing. One of them, of these advisors and thought leaders, is Michael Bracken, who is here as the chair of the ECI board, who for many years and nearly every day is extending his hand, his shoulder, his heart, his resources, and offering really invaluable support to me and to Earthchat International. So thank you, Michael. The other one that I wanted to highlight here today is the SGI. SGI that has accompanied really very closely and collaborated with us in through many efforts over the years. As far as I can remember, we have been collaborating with SGI since maybe 98. So at the end of the 90s, so many years, or even before. We have collaborated in many different ways in projects with SGI, from a consultation process of the Earth Charter, to putting together a film called The Quiet Revolution, to actually even Mr. Ikeda's contribution to the drafting process of the Earth Charter, which we deeply value. So this makes SGI one of our longest and most valuable partners. So I'm keenly aware that such a journey and the award that I'm receiving today would be impossible to undertake alone. So from this, I want to draw some lessons from my journey of over 25 years working with Earth Charter. And the first one, or the first lesson that I want to draw here, is that we cannot do anything alone. The second lesson that I want to share with you that I draw from my journey, it's that we're actually going to always encounter, or often encounter, turbulent waters in our lives. Work life, personal life. We are going to encounter turbulent waters, strong winds, unexpected events, or plans that don't go as expected. And I'm highlighting here because I also interact with my daughter and people from the younger generation, and I feel that it's an issue of how to deal with failure and not fall apart. So I would like to invite you to think about that, that the fact that such challenges of turbulent waters and strong winds can really generate fear, stress, uncertainty, and loss of direction. Who hasn't felt that, right? The question is how we address that, what is our attitude to face this. So this means that we need not only to be mindful of those moments that may emerge, and that's what I have learned in my life journey, but to continuously work on strengthening our ability to adapt and be resilient. I have experienced this many times, which is why I often envision myself as a bamboo. So the bamboo is flexible, is strong, it can take a lot of strong wind. But because of these interconnected roots and its flexibility, the bamboo doesn't break despite the strong wind. And I sometimes have seen myself as a bamboo through my journey. This imaginary helps me, at least, to remain steadfast and continue standing rather than breaking apart despite the tough moments in life. So this is really something I would like to highlight, especially to the younger generation. Don't worry. You can tell yourself, I'm going to fail sometimes, and it's okay. If I were too rigid in my mind, I might have really shattered long ago. So again, I encourage you to remind yourself, things might not go as planned, and we may face setbacks and failures, but this doesn't mean that you or I have to fall apart. We can stand and start all over again. So it's actually in the midst of those blurry moments in my life that somehow I have decided to smile and be grateful. And it's really true. I mean, this really happened. Good. I'm lucky that I have a good sense of humor. Sometimes I think about Charles Chaplin quite often, actually, that he says you cannot go one day without a good laugh or a smile, otherwise it's a wasted day. That helps me. So the third and last lesson that I would like to share has to do with that I think has helped me to keep through the years. It's possibly because I feel I have a strong portion of magical realism in me. In other words, balancing realism with magical realism has been crucial in my life in helping me to go through my journey. Let me explain a little further what is this magical realism thing. Over the past 25 years, I spent considerable time with my father-in-law, a renowned Costa Rican artist who passed away not a few days ago. He viewed the world through the lens of magical realism and excelled at conveying this perspective through his artwork. This experience has helped me. This experience of engaging with him, talking to him for so many years, has really helped me and many others gain a deeper understanding of this unique way of seeing the world through the lenses of magical realism. Realism and magical realism offer two distinct lenses through which we can view the world. Each of these lenses enrich our understanding of life in unique ways. Realism reflects the world as it is, reality. It grounds us in the tangible. However, if we are stuck with this lens only of realism, we would be unable to envision a world beyond our immediate reality, neither envision change. In contrast, when we have some portion of magical realism in us, it offers a refreshing perspective of reality that challenges our perceptions to see beyond what we normally see, expand our capacity to see, stimulating our imagination. By infusing a touch of magical realism in our everyday lives, it helps us see beyond the confines of the possible and embrace the wonder hidden in the routine. It fuels our creativity and opens our minds to the potential of change, helping us really to believe that a different world is possible and that there's more beauty if we're in things that in our everyday life. So this should not be seen merely as an escaping from reality, but a means to enrich our understanding of reality. For me, magical realism encourages us to recognize the beauty in the extraordinary moments of life and to embrace a sense of wonder that can often be overshadowed by the demands of the practical world and the limitations of realism. By balancing realism with a good dose of magical realism, we open ourselves up to a more vibrant, imaginative, and hopeful view of our existence, allowing us to find meaning and inspiration in both the ordinary, with the reality, and the extraordinary through the magical realism lens. So it's a combination. So just imagine those who lived in Brazil in around the 1850s, many years ago. They needed a good portion of magical realism to envision that slavery would be abolished or could be abolished. Now, slavery is history in Brazil. But thanks to those who had a portion of magical realism. Imagine someone who lived in Berlin in 1985 who really dared to say, the Berlin Wall would no longer be there, will no longer be there. it required a good portion of magical realism. Similarly, for someone who lived in the early 1900s, so 1905, to say that women should have a voice or have the right to vote or even to would be able to attend the school. Similarly, they needed a good portion of magical realism. I could go on highlighting examples of major shifts in human history that probably required a good portion of magical realism to make things happen and see things beyond reality. So let me now turn to the parallels I see between Earth Charter, the work we do, and SOA, the Soka University of America. And I want to do that through a timeline that I actually built this morning. We certainly have a lot in common in our history. So I'm blending here Mirian Vilela's history with the Earth Charter history and Soka University of America history in terms of some of our milestones. And it started where we started, in around 1987. So what happened in 1987 with SOA and with the Earth Charter? So that year, I knew nothing about global citizenship, but it was the first few years that I moved to Europe, from Brazil to Europe. And I was actually, I would say, embracing what global citizenship would be. But in here, the interesting thing is that Soka University opens for the first time in that year. And from an Earth Charter perspective is when the United Nations Brundtland Commission launched Our Common Future report. And in that report, 1987, same year, is when the first time this United Nations Commission on Environment and Development made a call for the need for a new charter to guide states towards a more sustainable world. So that's where the idea of the Earth Charter emerged. Then, because of that idea of the Brundtland Commission, the Earth Summit was organized, and the Earth Charter was part of the Earth Summit process of preparation and negotiations. Interesting, in 1994, you have the SOU was renamed with the graduate school. It was open, no? 1994, am I right? So in the same year, was actually a very historical year for the Earth Charter, but it was in Holland with Gorbachev, Queen Beatrix of Netherlands, because they signed an agreement in where the Dutch government offered a significant financial support for the planning of a new phase of the Earth Charter initiative, again, same year here. And that has led for the 1995 historical moment of the first Earth Charter workshop at the Peace Palace in The Hague. And in the same year, as far as I can understand, the planning in the beginning, so we were planning from an Earth Charter perspective, and then you were also planning here for a new campus where you are now. So when the Earth Charter was launched in the year 2000, at the Peace Palace in The Hague, there was something happened here too. I saw that there was the first event prior to the inauguration of this place. So I found it very interesting. So you were opened this campus in 2001. And around that time, what happened? Right after that, it was the first study abroad program. And around the same time was when the UNESCO, so in 2003, UNESCO adopted the first out of 2 resolutions on the Earth Charter. So we're kind of walking together here without even knowing each other, right? The 2 organizations. And of course, we understand that through Mr. Ikeda's speech at the Teachers College in 1996, was actually the first year I joined the Earth Charter. It was the same year, 1996, when he offered that speech, historical speech at Teachers College, outlining these 3 essential elements of global citizenship that you know. I find it very big coincidence because it was when I started to engage at the Earthchat initiative more directly. And I wanted to draw some correlations here between these three elements or pillars of your university and of global citizenship with the Earth Charter. And this is what I find. Wisdom. The Earth Charter emphasizes the need for an ecological wisdom to guide the way we relate to others and interact with the environment. It calls for a profound understanding of the interconnections between humans' activities and the natural world, advocating for sustainable practices, as we know, but also advocating for informed decision-making to ensure the health of our planet and future generations. So, as Mr. Ikeda made a call for one of the elements being wisdom, and the Earth Charter also has some similarity here. The second one has to do with compassion, actually. Compassion is deeply embedded in the Earth Charter worldview, and through its commitment to social and economic justice. The Earth Charter advocates for a sense of shared responsibility and empathy towards all living beings and the environment. It highlights the importance of respecting all life and caring for the community of life with compassion. So it's written in the principle 2 of the Earth Charter. And the last one, courage. So the Earth Charter really calls for courageous action to address the pressing environment and social challenges facing our world. It encourages individuals and institutions to question the status quo and to turn conscience into action. That's our slogan. This includes really taking bold steps in transforming systems and practice that contributes to environmental degradation and social injustices. Another example of a similar approach between Soka philosophy and the Earth Charter is the shared focus on nurturing the inner being. In the preamble of the Earth Charter, we find a call to recognize, let's see, something that's similar, I would say, to recognize that we must realize that when basic needs have been met, human development is primarily about being more, not having more. So this is in the preamble of the Earth Charter, and I understand it's very aligned with the Soka philosophy. Other parallels on the common approach that we have are ideas that we find in the Earth Charter and we find also in Soka philosophy. It has to do with interconnectedness, with our human and nature relationship, with this sense of Earth's community, just calling for that narrative. We belong to an Earth community is something that's very strong, articulated in the Earth Charter, and I think also in the Soka philosophy. And lastly, this notion of respect and care for the community of life. So again, community of life and Earth community are strong ideas and concepts that are articulated in the Earth Charter, and I think it illustrates the worldview that it evokes in us. So since the launch of the Earth Charter, I can say that, as you know, it's centered on an ethic of care and respect for the community of life, right? And since its launch about 24 years ago, after years of consultation and drafting, the Earth Charter has been used as an ethical compass. And the question is, why do we need a compass? We need a compass when we are lost in the middle of the ocean or the forest, right? The compass helps us to give direction. It also has been used as an ethical framework or as a solid ethical framework for sustainability and global citizenship. It has been used or called as an ethical reference, just as a lighthouse, the use of a lighthouse, or as an ethical foundation. So why do we need a foundation, strong foundation to hold the building together, right? To hold the Earth community together. So that's how I see that how the Earth Charter has been used or perceived over the years. And we invite you and I would say everybody, to look at the Earth Charter as an instrument to stimulate dialogue, as a compass, as a framework, but as an instrument to foster an ethic of care, to foster sustainable practices, and also a sense of global citizenship. So through the work we do at the UNESCO Chair, I see that a lot of the work we do is to use the Earth Charter as an instrument to expand our consciousness, to expand our capacity to see, or consciousness with regards to our relationship with other humans and the large living world, which involves really expanding our capacity to see and to feel how we ought to relate among ourselves, humans from different cultures and backgrounds, and the community of life. Again, that notion. Do we feel that we are part of a community of life? What is behind and inside the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the interconnectedness of our life. So I see really it as an instrument or a purpose to expand our consciousness regarding all of this. And we have been doing that through our education center that is located on the campus of the University for Peace in Costa Rica, which was established by the United Nations in the early 80s. And there, we established a UNESCO Chair on Education for Sustainable Development, together with UNESCO, back in 2012, that works at that intersection of sustainability, values, ethics, and education. And we have really been pretty much guided in the work we do by looking at the question, how can we, so the work we do, how can we cultivate and nurture, rather than inculcate, the values and principles of sustainability and global citizenship that we can find in their charters through a transformative learning experience. So we don't have a one single answer to that. We have been working with that question for over 2 decades. So let me end here by first sharing with you key programs we work with. One is we seek to engage for the past over 25 years, engage young leaders and educators to foster, to enhance their capacity to incorporate the worldview that is articulated in their charter in their sphere of work and action. Well, just a couple of examples of the work we have been doing, in which I have the responsibility to carry on. Through this slogan of turning conscience into action, we have an Earth Charter podcast with a number of conversations around global citizenship education or education for sustainable development, what an Earth ethic means, and we offer it as a resource to anyone, students, professors, just to listen and spark their creativity and imagination. And this is the last one I wanted to share. It's just one example of one project that we have been working on. It involves 14 universities, 10 of them from Latin America, from Mexico to Argentina, and 10 in Latin America and 4 of them in Europe. It's an Erasmus Plus project funded by the European Union that exists to enhance the capacity of universities in higher education to incorporate the notion of sustainability and their charter into their teaching. So just to give you an example, actually this last one, so we have also an open access Earth Charter magazine with articles from young leaders that we want to empower, give visibility, and educators that have been using the Earth Charter in different ways. And we have a very strong commitment to every work we do, we try or strive to generate it in English and in Spanish, precisely to cross-fertilize knowledge among different language areas. So I end with this Repo Effect image. I think everything we do is really trying to generate a ripple effect through the energy that we generate even in a room, through the conversations we have, through even the thoughts that come to our minds, I invite you to think about what are the ripple effects that you generate in your life, in your interactions with people or with nature. And one thing that really helps me to motivate my day-to-day work is the following questions. What if we change the narrative of collapse into one of possibilities and hope? What if we are the generation that will be known for having made social injustices become history and sparked the beginning of a new civilization, one that is ecologically conscious? What if we are the generation that will be remembered for the awakening of a new reference for life, a reverence for life? That generation that will be remembered for the firm resolve to achieve sustainability, the quickening of the struggle for justice and peace, and the joyful celebration of life. Really, we can do that. It's with all the technology, we have much more than the generation of 100 years ago. Why we can't not even imagine that we can be that generation that changed the course of things? And in my case, I really want to continue working on that path and generate the best ripple effect I can to make that what if ideas a reality. Thank you so much.
Questions. So if you have a question, if you could please raise your hand and we'll bring a mic around. Anyone have any questions?
I'm happy there is a question. It helps to break.
Thank you so much. I'm Mikiko Fujino from Christman Year. So I have one question. So I'm really impressed by the word that the first lesson that we cannot do anything alone. So it was so kind of impressive word for me. But at the same time, one of my life convictions is that each individual has limitless power to change the world. But right now, I feel like this is kind of paradox that each individual has such a power. At the same time, we cannot do anything alone. Mm-hmm. So what do you think the kind of connection or difference between the empowerment of each individual and kind of awakening everyone of the importance of kind of like connection with others? What would you think that connection is?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think we need both, obviously. It's like day and night. It's day here, but it's night in Japan at the same time. I think we have to move beyond the dualism. It's A or B. No, it's A and B. So in that sense, there is a lot that can be done from the inner dimensions of ourselves and our energy. Actually, one of our slogans, I think 15 years ago, was "It starts with one." So it starts with one step. It starts with one decision. It starts with oneself, the Repo Effect. But the reality is that, we cannot function without air. I need this air to live, and hopefully a clean air. And it's the same air that we share among ourselves. The air that comes through my lungs is the same that we're sharing here, right? So we cannot live without air or water, and there's many things that are circular around life. So thank you for bringing that up. I think we need both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question?
Very quiet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful, really to hear all the amazing things that you're doing. And yeah, one particular aspect that really caught my eye was, so once basic needs are met, it's about being more rather than having more, right? And just curious your thoughts about, I feel like there's certain sentiments that perhaps it's feeling like, if I'm not, just kind of this prevalent desire to just want to collect and have more, and in the sense that if I don't take, I might not have necessarily, right? Maybe the kind of the line in which we draw that determines where basic needs start and end, is maybe getting pushed out even more to to encompass more than maybe what we should understand as basic needs. So would you like to elaborate a little bit more on how we should really think about kind of the current condition of how folks think about that idea, and maybe what are some ways that we can really help to navigate so that there is a healthy understanding of where basic needs and how we can really determine how we can be more instead of having more.
Thank you. Well, I think it's a question that we should be often in our minds. What does that mean? No? Clearly, all around we look at, from movies to the advertisements to billboards, there is a narrative that feeds our mindset that we need to have more to be a successful human being, right? Everywhere, in conversations. I mean, if you don't have, you are nobody. So it's predominantly everywhere in our conversations. And actually, I would say that I often ask my students about, why do you go into a higher education? Truly, is it to have a better job and a bigger house and the possibility, or to have the knowledge and skills to contribute to the common good? So there is a very strong narrative dominating our mindsets everywhere we go that stimulates that. Even when we look at, we ask a 9 years old or 8 years old child to look at a number of logos, Mercedes, Starbucks, or McDonald's, they will immediately identify those logos. But if you give them a list of trees and flowers and ask them to identify, they would be unable to identify. So there is a reason for that. So I think because you are in this room, you all agree that on this need to cultivate the inner self and the being more. The good news is that when UNESCO, actually coincidentally, in 96 or 97, UNESCO launched that very famous report on the education for 21st century. And they articulated 4 pillars of education for 21st century. Do you know about that? Yeah, the 4 pillars of education for the 21st century, according to UNESCO, just before the turn of the millennium, was that education needs to be about learning to know, learning to do things, learning to live together among different cultures, and learning to be a better human being, to be a more compassionate human being. So learning cannot be limited to learning to know, just the cognitive learning, and neither just limited to how to do something. It's the learning to be, for me, it's like I can learn how to use a knife, but that same knife can be used to cut the bread, but also the same knife can be used to kill someone. So learning has to be about, being able to discern what is right and wrong with the knowledge that we acquire. So coming back to your question, basic needs for me, or I think for all of us, is what do we need to live? Food, shelter, good, peaceful relationship with our neighbors, clothes, education, health, access to health care. I mean, very in general, what do we really need as basic needs? But it's inserted in our psyche that in order to be successful, we need material life. So it's very focused on material life. The more material life we have, the more likely we are to be successful. So we need to question that. And actually, that's why I said, how about if universities question the awards given to students that for academic achievement only, because it's based on knowledge, which is good, but also recognize students based on their human qualities of caring. I may be someone who is not good at math or writing, but I am a wonderful human being because I help my classmates, I take care of the garden in the school, I volunteer. So these are other human qualities that are not based. I mean, how many people do you know that are PhDs that have written and published a lot of books and they are totally not good at relating to their neighbors? I mean, this is a shame. We should be ashamed at giving awards to that PhD and MBA who has written a lot of books, is extremely well achieved in terms of academic excel, but a terrible human being. So how about if we give visibility to those who excel not for the academic achievements of how many books they were able to publish and write, but because they are really caring human beings through their interactions. Thanks.
Anyone else have a question?
How will you continue to develop the idea of interconnectedness? What new changes, events, or activities are you planning to do in future?
In terms of interconnectedness? Well, okay, I relate the word interconnectedness with interdependence and even with interdisciplinarity. I think it's the biggest challenge of education, and because I'm so passionate into education, in working with education, I hope I'll have a long life that I'll be able to contribute as much as I can. And I think one of the biggest challenges is that we learn to see the world in compartmentalized ways, in boxes. For instance, I sit to have my breakfast and I only see my breakfast. Could be the egg or the bread. So for me, working with interconnectedness in our learning process is, again, the capacity to expand what I see. I don't see just the dish on my plate. I see everything that was behind that breakfast that I'm eating, and kind of always seeing the connection of things. So for me, a key competence or skill on sustainability involves the capacity to see the connection of things and the interconnectedness of life. It's not just humans and nature. And it's the biggest challenge we all have in our generation. I think one of the challenges is to shift away from that fragmented approach to life, to understanding things, into a more holistic, integrated manner of seeing life and the interconnectedness of life. I'm often talking with students from certain countries, and they say, "Oh, they perceive sustainability as a synonym of environmental protection," which is not. But it's very hard for most people, because they say, "No, first let's take care of human needs and addressing poverty, and afterwards we address issues of sustainability." So this is a problem with our sight, with our capacity to see the connections of things. Marina Silva from Brazil, our Minister of Environment, she often says, how can it be that the Ministry of Environment of a country is often fighting with the Ministry of Agriculture, as if they were from opposite teams? They are not from opposite teams. They're ministers of the same government. But there is a perception that environmental protection precludes the development of agriculture. And therefore, here what it's lacking, it's a need of seeing the interconnectedness of things, of the challenges we have, of life. And if we are able to expand our capacity to see these connections, it will make it easier to understand and address the challenges of sustainability. You know, Superman, is that Superman could click something and he would expand his capacity to see. He would see through the walls. Yeah, so I often think of that capacity of Superman. I think we need to expand our capacity to see the linkages of things, and certainly the interconnectedness of the well-being of people with nature and the non-human life, for instance. Thank you.
We have time for one more question, if anyone has a question.
Can I give one question? I think it's more than a question, it's an invitation for you to think on the footprints we leave here. You know, what each one of us, we are here, and whether we like it or not, we are going to leave some footprints. And in the environment world, you must have heard about the ecological footprint, which is what's the size of the environmental footprint that we leave in terms of our environmental impact here. And I invite you to think about a regenerative footprint, which is a more positive approach. It's not just looking at, what's my environment impact? How can I shrink my environmental footprint? But rather to think, how can I increase my regenerative footprint, my positive impact on my path here? So it's kind of a question for you to think about it. Thank you.